Okay, so this rare animal that was just rediscovered, it was extinct. This animal, people thought it was extinct or they hadn't seen it for a long time. It was an echidna. So there are a bunch of different types of echidna that live in Australia and Papua New Guinea. And this was one that hadn't been seen since the 60s, and they found it. So we'll talk a little bit more later about how they found it and a little bit about this species. So you can jump to that via the timestamps below if you just want to check that out, or you can stick around for the rest of the show where we will be talking about new desalination technologies, how some bison have led to a discovery of something, a new satellite that is going to be launched, and then at the end of the show we'll talk about what is the best extinct animal. So we got kind of an extinction episode. So yeah, you can jump to the bit about the echidna or stick around for the rest of the show. This is Eco Show. Hello and welcome to Eco Show. I'm Henry. This is Eco Show. It's a show about ecology, the environment, nature, news, and things in that sort of realm of happenings. Each week we talk about recent news, we'll talk about some new science articles, and we'll have something a little bit more casual towards the end of the show. So welcome, and glad to have you here. So our first news piece today is that there is a new desalination technology that has been developed and is getting, I think it's just a prototype at this point. And desalination is cleaning up water, getting the salt out of water so that you can drink it and use it for other things. So usually desalination is pretty energy intensive to run because you have to pump water through filters and things like that to get it to be clean. But this technique, or this new technology, requires no energy input besides building the apparatus. Now this thing is like a buoy. So you put it out in the ocean, and it's a little, it's around the size of, it looks like the size of a small boat. And what it does is, from the lowering and raising, as it goes up and down with waves, that wave action provides enough energy for water to be drawn into a filter mechanism and then to be pushed through that filter mechanism. So the going up and down and up and down almost is kind of like a little bit of you can kind of imagine those old-fashioned water pumps, and it helps to pump the water through this filtration mechanism, and it can generate about 13,000 gallons of drinking water today, and that would be about enough water for 1,000 people to use over the course of the day. So people, depending on how industrialized the area is, people use anywhere from 50 gallons of water to 200 gallons of water a day. So this would be about enough for about 1,000 people per day just from one of these things. And some of the benefits of this is it's out in the ocean, but it's not really high out of the water, so it doesn't have a big negative impact on the view of the ocean, on your horizon view, which is kind of a complaint that people have about wind farms and things. So we've got a photo here of the Onika little mechanism thing. So this is a view of it from the outside, and we have a photo of it from the inside here. So this is a little X-ray vision mode, just showing that water gets pushed through a reverse osmosis membrane. Another issue with traditional desalination is that once you do the desalination, you need to dispose of all that salt that you have left over, and this can lead to massive die-offs. But this little mechanism, as it separates the salt from the water, it redistributes the salt gradually back into the water in a way that is meant to not be harmful for local ecosystems. And also, this is supposedly able to handle very big waves, so it should be able to make it through different storms and things like that. So, news piece number 1, there we go. Our second news piece today, moving from the sea to land, we have a big prehistoric discovery which was led by bison. So bison have been reintroduced into ancestral First Nations land in Canada. This is in Waniskewin Heritage Park in Canada. And what they did was they uncovered petroglyphs, which are drawings and markings that are in stone. And the bison did this just by walking around. So just by being back on the land and grazing and things like that, they revealed these petroglyphs. And alongside the petroglyphs, they found a stone knife with it. And this finding is estimated to be about 1,000 years old. Some background on bison in the area here in Canada is that by 1888, there were no wild bison left in Canada. So this reintroduction has been a really long time coming. And this coincides with some prophecies that the reintroduction of bison would bring good fortune back to the area. So here we have a photo of some bison doing their thing, grazing on the land. So this area in particular, the Wapiton Dakota Nation was on the area, and they were forcibly removed back in the day, back in the 1800s. And in the 1980s, this area in particular was going to be developed into condos, but at the time there were some other archaeological findings that had come about then. So they were a little bit before, and that kind of preserved the site a little bit more. And then they had these big findings today, and we've got a photo here of what was called, I think it's called a buffalo stone. And this carving here is showing the buffalo spine, and this is a common motif that's in the area. And so they found a lot of little pieces with these petroglyphs in it, and people are able to tell a lot more about what people were thinking, what people were doing by seeing these different drawings in the area and how people were expressing themselves. So very cool finding there, and thanks to the buffalo reintroduction for that. News piece number 3, we have got, so we've gone from the ocean. So we're in the ocean, desalination technology, fantastic. We've moved to the land, and this wasn't even on purpose. I'm just realizing this now. We moved on to the land. We're talking about buffalo. Ooh, buffalo on the land, leading to discoveries. Now we're going up into the stars, or we will be soon, because there's a big satellite that's about to be ready for launch. Thanks to Kelsey for shouting out this news piece. And this is this new satellite is called the PACE, PACE satellite, and the PACE stands for Plankton, Aerosol, Cloud, and Ocean Ecosystem Mission. This is definitely I think this is an oceanographer thing for sure. They love making up these little acronyms, and they do it in the most psycho way possible. Like plankton, okay, P, aerosol, A, that's fine. C, cloud, yeah, that's all good. And A, okay, we can leave the and. And then you have ocean, but there's no O in PACE. And then ecosystem for your E, and then mission, M at the end. So they're just dropping letters. They're just making up whatever they want to do, which, good for them. But Kelsey, explain yourself. Why are you all doing this? You had enough time. This must have taken so much money. You could come out with something that actually fit, that fit the letters. But anyways, they've got the PACE satellite. And what is PACE satellite going to do? It's going to assess ocean health to a degree that we haven't had access to before, which will be really beneficial for being able to describe problems that are ongoing, to model future conditions, and probably in some ways to understand past conditions as well. So this is measuring distributions of phytoplankton, which are little photosynthesizing organisms that are really the base of the ocean food web. And there will be tiny plants and algae that can be observed by this. So this will help us to understand food webs on the ocean scale, because if you're not using satellites, you have to pretty much take water samples, and water samples are great, but the ocean is, we know the ocean is big, but the ocean is just so much bigger than we can even comprehend. And it's really expensive to go out and do surveys of the water and everything like this. So satellites really have revolutionized the way that we understand oceans, and this is looking like it will revolutionize them even further. So this will also continue records of atmospheric variables. So this will be able to tell us things about aerosols and clouds. And these all are interesting on their own, but also impact the ocean systems, the ocean ecosystems. So this will tell us about air quality and the Earth's climate. And we've got a little figure here that is showing the different wave signatures of, I actually forgot to look this up, but I believe this is the main satellite system that's currently used, which is called VIRS, which is VIIRS. And you can see the VIRS satellite only gives you a few points of information along a wavelength. And so it's handy. You can see the maximum and minimum information and some information along the way, but you can see this PACE satellite is giving us an idea of the movement of the curve, and so it's giving us a much better idea of what light is being shone back, so it can give us a more accurate, detailed view of what it is that we're looking at. So, and this is ocean color, which can tell you about what things are in the ocean. So that is very cool. And now we finished the news. So I'm going to take a break. Here, a word from our sponsors, which is me, and all the folks who are who are engaging and listening. Thanks for engaging with the show. We've got this show on YouTube, most podcast places. We also have it on Instagram, and Instagram is the main place where I'll put up different polls, asking questions for the show and things like that. So the Instagram is henryfromnature. It'll be in the description below. And via the Instagram, you can find links to the podcast if you want to be able to get the listenable version, and then And Instagram, you can also, if you're just listening to this and you want to find the video version, you can also find the link to that via Instagram. So that's the hub. Check it out, and you can interact with the show a little bit more if you want to. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so that's been the shout out for the show. Thanks for bearing with it. And now on to the main piece of the show that we've got today. If you've hopped from the start of the show to this point, welcome. You're most welcome. We're talking about this echidna that was rediscovered. The scientific name for it is Zagalosis attenborough, and the Attenborough is named after Sir David Attenborough, which is he's the guy who does all of the Planet Earth narrations, and is an adorable and fantastic fellow. So this echidna was thought to be extinct for some 60 years, and it was found on a camera trap in New Guinea. So there'd been a general ecosystem and wildlife survey that was going on, and they had set out camera traps, which are these little cameras that have sort of a camouflage covering on them, so you can put them in the forest and they're not looking too obvious. And as things wander by, they'll take a photo, or we'll start taking a video, and we'll capture that thing that's moving around. And so they captured this echidna. And along with this echidna, they found in this mission, they found new frog species, some new insects, and healthy populations of tree kangaroos, which I had never heard of a tree kangaroo before, but that is a pretty cool thing for them to have found. And they found this video, the video of this echidna. It was on the very last memory card of the last camera from the last day of the expedition. So they'd gone through all of these cameras, and I'm sure they had thousands of hours of footage to go through, and for them to find it on this last memory card would have been, it may sound like a boring thing, but I can guarantee they were losing their minds that they found this, especially after 60 years of not having seen it. This area in particular in Papua New Guinea is 2,000 meters or 6,500 feet above sea level, so it's pretty high up there. It's really dense forest, but it's pretty inaccessible and hard to get to because of the forest and because of the high altitude, and the conditions are pretty intense. And a little background on the echidna. If you don't know what an echidna is, we'll have had a photo of it, but its main sort of claim to fame is that it is almost the only mammal that lays eggs. Platypi are the other mammal that lay eggs, and echidna have this great little beak and some good digging claws, so they're kind of good for digging, good for nosing around and getting bugs and things like that. So it's a great find, and it's an important find culturally for this area, because this echidna has cultural significance in the area. So we have a photo of this is just sort of the echidna in Australia that still is doing pretty well. It's got spines here, and it's got this nice little nose. It's a pretty adorable guy. And prepare yourself if you're listening, because this is the one that they found, which is a little bit more freaky looking, and it looks a bit like it's got a lot of an anteater kind of. It is more reminiscent of an anteater with its long snout beak there, and has got a bit more of a stocky build, and you can kind of see a little bit of that hand right there that would be used for digging about in things. And here's a photo from you can find on the BBC if you search, lost echidna found or something like that. You can find the whole video, but we have a little photo here, a blurry photo from the video showing this echidna that was found on the film. So it would have been very exciting to see, and it's only a few seconds that this echidna is walking by. So these camera traps have been a really handy technology for being able to assess species presence. So you can get an idea by how long your camera is out there and the amount of area that's covering, how many cameras is out there can give you a good idea of population sizes by just seeing the rate of animals that are going by your particular area, or sometimes people will use lures to entice animals in. Okay, that has been the main highlight of the show, and now we're going to go through some of your favorite extinct animals. So I'll go through the best one I got, the ones from the folks on Instagram. The first one I got was Homo floresiensis. This is one that somebody put up there, and this is considered to be its little nickname is the Hobbit. So it was a small humanoid like thing, and we'll call it an animal, even though it's on the kind of human side of development things, but humans are technically animals as well. So if I'm calling something an animal, I'm not trying to diss it or anything like that. It's just handier to call it that. Okay, and our next favorite extinct animal is Steller's sea cow. So we have some photos up here that are showing its size compared to humans, and it looks like a manatee. It has a manatee sort of thing going on. It's like in between a manatee and a big lion seal, but this thing was absolutely gargantuan, and looks like it was very important for subsistence folks, and it was a big, beautiful animal. One of our next favorite ones was called Smilodon, which I wasn't sure what this was initially, but it is the saber-toothed tiger, and the person liked it because Diego was always the best character in the Ice Age series, and Diego was the saber-toothed tiger. I always liked the sloth guy in Ice Age, but Diego the saber-tooth was also very cool. And I think our last one is Minmipera vertebra, and it was an ankylosaurus in Australia. And this was very quick. It had an extra tendon in its rear legs, and it lived in Queensland. We can see it compared to a human there, and it's actually pretty small. When I was thinking of an ankylosaurus, I thought it would be a little bit bigger. And some other information on this is that it didn't have a clubbed tail, and it had armor on its belly. So if it got knocked over or anything like that, and people were trying to have a munch through the belly area, then good luck. And another thing this person noted that was cool about this is the fossil that they found of this had fossilized food in the belly, so they could find what it had eaten. I hope that I am not found fossilized with food in my belly, because that would be probably a little bit embarrassing. People finding what I had for my last meal, but great on this ankylosaurus. It looked like it was having a healthy diet, keeping on the salad, keeping on the greens, and all that good sort of thing. So those were some of our favorite extinct animals from the week. We'll put up another sort of poll for next week's show, so be sure to check out the Instagram if you'd like to contribute. And thanks for checking out the show. This has been Eco Show. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.